Cheers, everybody. Cheers, cheers. Good morning, good morning. Good morning, my people. Good morning, good morning. What's going on, everybody? Thank you very much for tuning in. Appreciate you guys being a part of the show. Monday, December 1st. What is going on here? December 1st? What the F? The hell happened to the year? My God, what happened to the year? Thank you very much for being here. Appreciate you guys hanging out for the show. We got a busy week this week. Got a lot of Laker games getting cranked out. What they have last night, they go tonight. 3-game road trip Thursday, Friday, and Sunday. So it's a busy week in the NBA. Busy week if you're a Laker fan. You got a lot to do. If you're running a podcast on the Lakers, you got a lot going on here. I appreciate you guys being a part of the show. Thank you for hanging out. I'm going to give everyone just a quick rundown what we got going on for the show. Hopefully everybody had a great Thanksgiving. Nice Thanksgiving holiday. A lot of people took 4 days off. A lot of people were probably out traveling, hanging out with family, eating some food. I put on a couple LBs. I got to be honest with everybody. I'm trying to start cleaning everything up. Yesterday, I stepped on the scale. I'm like, all right, let me just get back on the horn here. All right, let me give everyone a quick rundown what we got going on for the show today. As always, thank you for hanging out. Please subscribe to the channel if you guys don't mind. We're so close to 34,000 subscribers. If you guys can do me a favor, if you've yet to subscribe to the channel, please subscribe. Let's get to 34 grand. 34K. All right, quick idea of what we got going on for the show today. 7 in a row for the Lakers. They beat the Pelicans yesterday. There's kind of two ways to look at the Lakers right now as far as this 7-game winning streak. One way to look at it is it's a 7-game winning streak, and I don't care who your competition is. Another way to look at it is not one of these teams are above 500. So probably some truth in both of those. And we'll spend a little time on that tonight, or we'll spend a little time on that this morning, back on tonight after Lakers take on the Suns. So we'll talk about the 15-4 start. Really good competition coming up for the Lakers. The next 5 games will be against teams over 500. So I think we'll have a little better of an idea of how Lakers are going to fare against some of those teams. Rui Hachimura is – think about how much we've talked about Rui Hachimura since the offseason, and every trade that you feel like gets brought up, I feel like Rui's name gets thrown into it. Is it just me, or do I feel like, no, they shouldn't get rid of Rui? Rui's been really good for the Lakers. And that if, the Lakers need depth and they need other players to step up, sure. They need a little bit more talent, absolutely. Don't you got to keep Rui? We'll have a Rui Hachimura conversation a little bit later as the show goes on as well. The luxury of sitting LeBron. You guys know the Lakers' record without LeBron so far this year. He didn't have to play yesterday. Obviously, he hasn't had to play in many games this year. They're 11-4 without LeBron. So there's a luxury of not having him on the floor, and there's a luxury specifically for LeBron for not having to be there every single game. We'll spend some time on that. I do want to go back a little bit to Friday's game. Friday, Lakers played the Dallas Mavericks, got a chance to face Anthony Davis. Yeah, I started getting into a conversation in the postgame show. And listen, a lot of times I'm not 100% sure how certain things are interpreted. I think some people would, how do I put this? I want to ask an Anthony Davis question for today. Did he meet the expectations as a Laker? When he was coming to be a Los Angeles Laker and what you thought Anthony Davis was going to be, did he meet those expectations? So we'll talk a little bit about that as well. A lot of good NBA stories out there that we'll spend some time on. What do I have here for NBA news? What did I write down? We'll take a look at the latest in the standings. Cooper Flagg dropping 35, doing something. Youngest player, I think, to score 35 in the NBA. Did that against the Clippers. Clippers are now 5-15. Celtics winning games even without Tatum. And then the most valuable franchise in the NBA. We'll spend a little time on that. Got the weekend recap. We'll hit on some NFL scores, NCAA football. Lane Kiffin goes to LSU. My SDFC run is over. They lose in the semifinals to Vancouver. And then if you guys want a couple random stories, I can bitch and complain about a couple of things. If you guys are interested, we'll do that as well. All right, my people, thank you for being here. Appreciate you guys being a part of the show. let's get a look at a couple questions, or let's look at a couple of the comments here before we go any further. Ocean Breeze, love is not a word, it's an action. And every action speaks louder than words. Love isn't just about saying beautiful things, but consistently showing up for each other every day. I love it. Love that. Thank you, Ocean Breeze. Thank you, brother. They're taking care of business. You can only play your schedule, so they're doing good. Okay? Morning Slee, chilling here at Silver Strand Beach in Coronado, sipping on some black coffee on a beautiful vacation. What a beautiful... Cheers to you, brother. Anybody else out there that's sipping on their coffee, cheers to our man sipping on some black coffee in Coronado. Damn, that's a good day right there. What a way to start your week. What a way to start your week. All right, there are a lot of comments already, people throwing some stuff on there in regards to Rui, in regards to Anthony Davis. So I'm going to star some of these, and then I'm going to come back to it. So we'll come back to some of those there in a little bit. Sipping on whiskey. Don't do that. A little too early. A little too early. All right, let's get the show started. Let me just kind of hit on a few things here as we get started, and specifically what I'm talking about. Like I mentioned, the Lakers start in 7-game winning streak. So here's where we are if you're the Lakers. You go look at the West standings. Lakers second in the Western Conference. Houston behind them, then Denver. You go look at how the Lakers have played. You guys remember, seems like it was so long ago, the Lakers were on a 5-game road trip. They started the road trip 1-2. OKC served it to them. And the Thunder, nobody's questioning that they're not the best team in the NBA. But that's the last loss the Lakers have. So they lost, if I'm right, I'm going to try to remember this off the top of my head. They had lost a game against Atlanta, who actually has turned out pretty decent. They choked away a game yesterday against Philly. But Atlanta, they lost to Atlanta. Then they beat, who'd they beat? They beat some bum team. Maybe it was the Pelicans, and then they lost to OKC, and then they beat Charlotte. And it's like, hey, all this is going to depend on how this road game goes against the Bucks. They won that road game against the Bucks. But since that Thunder loss, they've won 7 games in a row. Now, if I list out for you who they've beat in those 7 games, they all have something in common. And again, I'm just trying to add context to this because I think winning 7 games in a row, I don't care who you play in the NBA, is very, very impressive. Very, very impressive. The NBA is, you got teams that come out sometimes and shoot really well from 3 in a game, and then in another game, they're awful. You have teams with great records that have poor performances. Teams with poor performances or poor records have great performances. You just never know what you're going to get in the NBA. Any given night, a team can go off. A guy can drop 35 or 40. That's just the league, and there's a lot of talent in the NBA. But here's something to keep in mind since the Lakers have gone on the 7-game winning streak. They beat the Pelicans, the Bucks, the Jazz again, the Clippers, the Mavs, and the Pelicans. That's your 7 games. All 7 of those games are against teams below 500. I don't personally care. I think I figured this out yesterday when I was doing the post-game show. I was talking a little bit about the competition that they were beating. I'm like, wait a minute. Are any of these teams over 500? The answer is no. Now, you could look at Dallas and you could say, look, they had Anthony Davis played. He came back. You could look at the game against the Bucks. Giannis was playing in that game. But I think it's the game against the Clippers. Kawhi was there. James Harden was there. Vica Zubac was there. John Collins was there. I mean, they had most of their players. The Pelicans are the one where they really didn't have anybody. But I think at the end of the day, however you get 7 wins in a row and you're 15-4 on the season, I do think is impressive. Now, adding a little bit of context to that, all right, well, now they got some good competition that's coming up. Phoenix, they play tonight, is 12-9. Toronto is 5, 6, 7 games over 500. Boston's 3 games over 500. Philly's a game over 500. San Antonio's got one of the best records in the Western Conference. I think top 4 or 5, something along those lines. The next 5 games for the Lakers, it's going to be some really good competition. And I think that's all. I think the point that I'm trying to make here with the start is they have won 7 in a row. By the time tonight's game is over, and I think I mentioned this to you guys, let's say um, when tonight's game is over, you're 25, you're a quarter of the way through the NBA season. And I know for me, I like looking at the quarter mark of the season. I like looking at a third of the way there. I like looking at 50% there. I think once you get to about 50%, you kind of know exactly what your team is. Your team is either they're in the hunt or they're not. They're maybe a playoff team, maybe they're not. They're playing team, they're top 4, they're competing for a championship. You kind of know what you have by the time you get to 50% of the season. By the time tonight's game is done, we're a quarter way through the Lakers season. And I think however you want to, look at the competition, however you want to look at the opponents that you're playing, I think a lot of people thought the Western Conference was going to be a lot better. I think the Western Conference is top heavy, and there's a lot of very below average teams that are sitting in the West, which is part of the reason why this schedule has been favorable to the Lakers. But before the season started, I don't think you would have thought Clippers would be this bad, Dallas would be this bad. I didn't think New Orleans was going to be this bad for all obviously just looking at the Pelicans, looking at some of the talent that they have, but they've had a ton of injuries. But with all that being said, they got a chance by the time tonight's all said and done, at the worst, to be 15-5 through the first 20 games of the year. And I think that's phenomenal. If they handle their business tonight, they're 16-4 through the first 25% of the season, which would be incredible as well. So I wanted to add a little context because 7 in a row is very impressive. 15-4 is very impressive. They're going to have some games coming up here where they're going to start facing some competition that's above 500 again. The next 5 games for the Lakers, all teams above 500. The Phoenix one, which is at home. The last one, which is the quarterfinal game of the NBA Cup against the San Antonio Spurs, that's home. And then these 3 games in the middle that are all on the road with Toronto, Boston, and Philadelphia. So that gives you a little bit more context on where the Lakers are sitting. All right, let's take a look here at some of the comments here, and then we'll start hopping into some of our other topics. The Lakers as a whole need to play better defense. It's not just on one player. Quit acting like Rui is the only one not being consistent on defense. All right, I'm assuming that's going at somebody else. Okay, let's see what we got here. Don't trade Rui. Okay, Rui, I gotta feel like is going to be a hot topic and a hot conversation. So we're going to do that in just a second. I'll get into the Rui conversation. Clippers definitely in tank mode. Do you know they're 5-15? Is that right? Let me double check here. Are they already 20 games in? That's wild. And they lost their last game. I don't know if their last game was against Dallas, but maybe they're a little better. No, they're 5-15. They've lost 4 games in a row. Maybe they are in tank mode. They should start selling off anything that they have. All right. It doesn't matter. The Clippers were healthy. Plus, teams like Denver have lost to the Kings. The Thunder have only played 3 teams over 500, and you still. Okay, that's a very interesting way to describe it. Way to get angry at a team that's sitting at, what are they at? 20-1. Yes. Let's not give the team who's 20-1 any credit. It's a good point. All right, let's get another one in here. Sliwa, I appreciate the context, but one thing that separates good teams from great teams is whether or not you get it done against. By the way, I don't disagree with that. I think there is, a portion of you can only play the competition in front of you. And whether that competition is a team that's 5-15 or a competition that's 15-5, you just have to face the competition that's in front of you. And what the Lakers have done, let me use last night as an example. Last night, there was no moment that the Lakers, maybe that you could say they played around with their food a little bit in that third quarter. But was there ever a time where you're like, oh my gosh, the Lakers have a chance of losing this game against the Pelicans? And there wasn't. There was never a moment for that. And even some of these other games like Dallas, like the Clippers, they've also found ways to pull away in the fourth quarter when it's most important. So I think you got to give them credit for that as well. Looking forward to watching Lakers versus Nuggets. Either team could be second best in the league. You know what I was hoping for? I think Denver lost to San Antonio in which took them out of the NBA Cup quarterfinals. I was hoping Denver would win that game so we would get Denver Lakers much earlier in the season because I think all those matchups are not till later on in the year. Instead, Lakers are going to they might get OKC again. They might get them in the semifinals if they beat Phoenix. The Lakers have created good separation from 7th seed to 8th seed, which means they won't have to worry about the play-in at all. They absolutely have. By the way, look what it is now. There's about a 4-game difference between the Lakers and the number 7 spot. So that's where Phoenix is sitting right now. You got Phoenix, Golden State, Memphis, and Portland are all in that 7 through 10. But look, you could be 8 and 12 in the Western Conference and be the number 10 spot. That typically used to happen in the Eastern Conference. The Eastern Conference actually has they're not as top heavy. I mean, there are teams that have good records in the Eastern Conference, but yeah, a little bit surprising to see how the West is kind of how the East has kind of panned out. See something here. Did Atlanta end up? The hell was I watching? Atlanta ended up beating Philly? All right. That's a random one. I was watching some NBA TV yesterday. So, all right, let's see what we have here. Okay, let's keep going here. Slee, do you think Luka has input on Lakers roster moves? Maybe to an extent. I think it's not common, or I think it's common for all these teams in the NBA to let their stars weigh in, especially a player like Luka, his age, someone that you really, really want to be bought into the franchise and the organization moving forward. I'm sure there's a little bit of, hey, what do you think of this caliber player or this type of player? I'm sure there's some input there. I mean, hell, go look at the offseason. Ayton ends up being a Laker. They got some help from Luka to help Ayton get here. I think they both share the same agent. So something to keep in mind. Okay, so Lakers got the Suns tonight. So let me just do this real quick. Lakers and Phoenix, and then we'll talk a little Rui. So where are the Suns sitting? Suns sitting at 12-9 on the season. So it's just something to keep in mind. No real kind of shocker. They've gone through an interesting stretch of games here. Look at the competition they played. They played Minnesota, San Antonio, Houston, OKC, Denver. Mix the Kings in there for one of those games. 5 of their last 6 games are against really good opponents in the Western Conference. And then they got another one coming up against the Lakers. They'll have faced they'll have faced the top 5 teams in the Western Conference by the time they're done playing the Lakers. They lost to Denver, they lost to OKC, but they lost to Houston, but they beat the Spurs, they beat the Minnesota Timberwolves. I think they're kind of Phoenix reminds me of a very middle of the pack team. They're trying to figure things out. By the way, their record would tell you they're better than middle of the pack in the Western Conference. But they're trying to figure things out. Obviously, the team changed, the head coach changed. No KD, no Bradley Beal. They're now playing as far as their team. It's a much more balanced team. Devin Booker leads the way, but Dylan Brooks, Grayson Allen, Jalen Green, Mark Williams, Colin Gillespie, Royce O'Neal, all guys that score in double figures for the Phoenix Suns on a night-in, night-out basis. We'll get a chance to see Mark Williams tonight, which I'm looking forward to. Somebody had said, and Mark Williams is having a nice season so far for the Phoenix Suns. What is he at? Averaging 13 points a game and about 9 rebounds and a block shot. Somebody said, hey, do you think that Lakers regret not trading for Mark Williams? Which one would you rather have? Would you rather have Mark Williams, or would you rather have DeAndre Ayton, who, by the way, is playing better and is a more consistent center so far this year for the Lakers than whatever Mark Williams is doing for the Phoenix Suns? But on top of that, you kept Dalton Connect and you kept the first rounder. So it's kind of a no-brainer. There's no conversation to be had. If you've watched the Lakers this year, you should definitely be happy with what Ayton's given you on a night-in, night-out basis. And on top of that, that trade, to be completely frank with everybody, I mean, the Lakers are fortunate it didn't happen because they got the center they needed. And then they also have put themselves in a position where they still have assets to go get other pieces and other players down the road. So that one's not a question. No one should be asking if the Lakers, by having Ayton and Dalton Connect and a first rounder over Mark Williams, clearly that one's better. If you just compare the two centers, Ayton's having a better season so far than them as well. Speaking of Ayton, I'm going to just put this in there because we saw Ayton late in the game yesterday. Seems to be okay. Let me read exactly what he said. He had that bumping knees or whatever the case is. His exact quote, he said, yeah, kind of tweaked it a little bit. Also, the collision I had the other day in Utah, JJ told me he would sub me out regardless, so it was good timing. Knee cooled down, and now it's all okay. I just felt something there, and there was a substitution ready straight away. So Ayton's saying he's good. So if Ayton's saying he's good, we'll find out a little bit later when they do an injury report of whether, Ayton's good to go tonight and go from there. All right, let's take a look at a couple of the comments, and then we'll talk Rui. Let's talk Rui after that. Why isn't JJ playing Vando? I got to be honest. Nobody really knows the answer to that. But I think JJ he's done enough. And I think has proved enough so far to, if JJ thinks Vando shouldn't be playing, then Vando shouldn't be playing. All right, let's get another one here. Lakers consecutive. What is that? 30 plus with Jerry West? No, I don't think that will happen. What are they at now? I know they lost pretty early in the season and now 20-1 on the season, but let me just see how many in a row they have. 12 in a row. No, don't think that happened. Suns are sneaky good. Let's put it this way. Lakers will have competitively, they'll have to be better tonight than they were yesterday to win this game. Okay. All right. Let's keep going here. Let's talk Rui for a quick second here. So you guys tell me if you agree with this. We've had this conversation before. It's no secret here. And I've said this. I think the Lakers are going to have to go make another trade. I really do. I think the Lakers are going to have to make a deal before the trade deadline. And I'm just going to imagine, I've said this before. I've heard it more in baseball, but I think it does apply to the NBA as well, and it probably applies to any sports. You hear a lot of these GMs or presidents of baseball operations or basketball operations, you hear them basically say, look, the team is going to tell us whether we should make a trade or not. The team is going to dictate whether it's worth investing more into this team or not. And I think, right now, the Lakers have clearly, I spent some time last week early on before Thanksgiving putting up some content pieces about the Lakers the team is showing and they're proving that they're worth the investment. Sometimes you got to ask yourself, hey, is it a smart investment to keep throwing money here? And there are plenty of times where you got to cut your losses and say, no, this one just doesn't make sense. Tell me how the Lakers have not proved to Rob Pelinka, that front office, keep investing into this team this year. They're 15-4. They're off to a phenomenal start. They're on a 7-game winning streak. Luka Doncic is one of the top 3 players in the NBA. They got Austin Reeves, who's playing like a top 15 player in the league as well. Go look at some of his stats. I did a video on him on Saturday or Sunday, whichever day, that just isolated his success that he's had with the Lakers so far this season. I think it was on Saturday. Ayton has been living up to expectations. Hell, they haven't even had to rely on LeBron yet this year. And I think they're clearly showing this is a good investment if you're Rob Pelinka. Continue to put assets towards this team. And before you get to the trade deadline, if they really, really want a shot at being in the Western Conference Finals, I'm not even going to say making it to the finals. Let's just say making it to the West Finals and giving themselves a legitimate opportunity. I do think they got to go get more talent on this team. A lot of trade chatter that we've had about the Lakers has been around Rui. I mean, don't tell me that Rui has not come up in a lot of different chatter. Okay, hey, what guys are expiring contracts? Okay, Rui, Maxi Kleber, just thinking of names off the top of my head. Gabe Vincent is another one. There are players out there that, yes, they have an expiring contract. But I think you got to ask yourself the question, what players, if you're going to go make any type of run in the Western Conference, do you feel like you have to have on the roster? Or it would be really, really nice to figure out a way to keep the player on the roster? Has Rui not kind of proven You guys need me? I mean, if there's one thing that the Lakers are lacking so far this season, I think people would agree with this. They don't have depth. They don't have players on that bench that you could look at and say, okay, well, when the Lakers go to the bench, they got another 2 or 3 guys that you can depend on. I think, Marcus Smart, when he comes back, obviously coming off the bench. Jackson Hayes, I think, has been a reliable player so far this year, but he's got a very specific role. But after that, who can you really rely on? Jake LaRavia, God bless him. I hope, he's more consistent, but you can't rely on him up to this point. Gabe Vincent, you haven't been able to rely on since he's been a Laker 2+ years ago. Vando isn't even getting any opportunities. Dalton Connect, you can't rely on. If the Lakers are able to go out there and make a trade and go get that 6'8", 6'9" wing that can play multiple positions, that can guard multiple positions, that can hit threes, let's just say that player is so talented that it moves Rui to the bench. Don't you still need Rui Hachimura? I was thinking about this yesterday, or maybe it was the day before, that of all the trade chatter that's been out there, I think Rui's name has been thrown out a ton. It's been thrown out, obviously it's been a consistent. Is there a way you can get a player that, yes, can help you for the next couple of years, that, yes, there's another team out there that's saying, yeah, get this contract off our books. We're not trying to compete right now. We want expiring contracts. And, oh, by the way, we want some draft capital as well. Is there a way to do that and keep Rui Hachimura? Because now I feel like watching Denver in their depth, watching the Oklahoma City Thunder in their depth, watching Houston, healthy players, not healthy players, still finding ways to win. I think an area of the Lakers game where they clearly got to get better. They got to get better on the defensive side. They need better three-point shooting, and they also need depth. And I don't think the answer to that is getting rid of Rui Hachimura. So the one of the main reasons why I wanted to bring this up and have a conversation about it is because I think up to this point, it's safe to say, Rui's name has been thrown out a lot. And I understand why. By the way, I've thrown Rui's name out a lot. But I think as we sit here and we see what the Lakers are doing, I think Rui's been really good for the Lakers this season. He's averaging 16 points a game. By the way, close to 4 rebounds. I know that might be a surprise to everybody because I think we all look at his stats and say Rui can't grab a rebound if his life depended on it. Let me see his exact stat. Did I grab his rebounds? Where is Rui? 3.8 rebounds a game. I'm sorry, 14.8 points per game, 3.8 rebounds per game. So about 15 and 4 a game is what Rui's given the Lakers. So I'll read some of the comments. I'm curious to, get everybody's opinion here, but my tune has changed on Rui. I think he's an asset. I think you need Rui Hachimura, and I think your hope is to try to make some kind of a move with a team out there that, yes, wants expiring contracts. Maxi Kleber, Gabe Vincent. You could throw in some expiring contracts out there. Draft capital. Okay, Lakers have some draft capital. Obviously, you're trying to get something good back in return if you're going to give up some draft capital, and they could kind of clean their books, but you can get another player that you feel like is adding to this team rather than you're adding something, but you're subtracting somebody that you feel like is a night in, night out contributor. All right, let's see what people got to say about Rui. I'm curious here. If people will have, if there'll be more support with Rui or less support with Rui. Because I feel like there is a little bit of, I think in the past where it's been maybe a little bit more knee-jerk, like, yeah, get rid of Rui. I think he's been good for the Lakers. I think you're almost reaching a point with Rui Hachimura now where you're like, no, I think you got to have Rui on this team. And I think they need the depth. Like that I think is the thing to me that stands out more than anything else. If you got some more talent, they need more talent because you got to have 8, 9 guys that you can rely on come playoff time. And right now on that bench, they definitely don't have 3 or 4 guys that they can rely on. All right, let's take a look at some of the names here. Trading Rui would be malpractice. Please look at his shooting stats. Rui is a good role player. We don't need any more stars. And I want you guys to know, first off, I don't think the Lakers are getting another star. And I do think when I say they need depth, that's kind of the epitome of what I'm talking about. Depth means you need more role players, not stars, role players. You need guys that understand their role. I was watching, you guys were probably all watching on Friday night, Lakers and the Mavs. And I'm not telling you they're getting this player, but I'm watching PJ Washington, how Dallas got him in a trade and how perfect of a fit he was for the Mavs. And listen, look at his size. He's about 6'9", can play some defense, can hit some open threes. You almost need to add a player like that to the Lakers with Rui also on your team. I think that's the point that I'm trying to make is you're going to have to give up assets. You're going to have to find a way to maybe get a player that another team doesn't value as much or just doesn't want their contract or just wants expiring contracts and a draft asset. But I don't want to give up Rui in any deal right now. I think Rui is too important of a piece right now. All right, let's see what we got here. Starting to think Wiggins' agent is behind the Wiggins to LA rumors. Wiggins won't move the needle. I think Wiggins would be a nice player. I just, the more I hear his name thrown around the Lakers, the less I think he's actually going to end up being a Laker. I mentioned this yesterday when I was doing the postgame. List out the players that were rumored to be a Laker and never became Lakers. How long did we talk about? Let me think off the top of my head here. How long did we talk about Buddy Hield, DeMar DeRozan, Miles Turner, Walker Kessler? A lot of guys that we talked about for a long time. And I feel like the Wiggins name is starting to become a little bit more of that as well. Rui's our best three-point shooter. Stop betraying him. Is he our best three-point shooter? Probably just from how bad everybody else was from three-point shooting. Yeah, Rui's great depth piece. At worst, his shooting is getting better and better. Big test tonight against the Athletic Suns. By the way, give me tests. I like this. The only thing I will say, a couple of the other games that the Lakers have played, there's so much talent on the other teams. There's so much talent with the Clippers. There's so much talent on Dallas. The games were still fun to watch, but Phoenix actually has put together a pretty decent start to the season. All right, let's get some more here. Keep Rui. Luka likes him. Yeah, they seem to have a little bit of chemistry between the two of them. All right, let's see what else. Look at Rui's stats. He's been consistent. I trade Rui, Gabe, Vando, and LeBron. Laravia is fire. Smart is fire. Jackson, Kleber fire. LeBron's not going anywhere. Vando, Gabe, no question about it. You can trade them anytime. Laravia's got a long way to go, so I'm not going to say that he's fire. Smart's got to get healthy. All right, let's see what else we got here. If you can't win against teams under 500 and not over, that won't help for the playoffs. You're right about that. I don't argue with that. Okay, let's get a couple more in here. By the way, I guess I shouldn't be too surprised at this. Lot more people probably showing love to Rui, and it shouldn't be a shock or a surprise. He's had a good season. Sliwa, why can't Rui play D? He has two left feet, and he also can't grab a rebound. He also can't grab a rebound. Yeah, I don't know. Certain players have their strengths. Those are not his strengths. Stop with the trade talk. We have chemistry. Can we ride with what we have? I don't think we can. No, I don't. And I do think there will need to be a trade. And the goal is not to have chemistry. The goal is to have, look, part of the goal is to have chemistry. But part of the goal is also, do you have the most amount of talent on your team to give yourself a chance at getting out of the West? If you told me that the Oklahoma City Thunder were not a part of the Western Conference, then maybe we could have a different conversation. But you got to worry about OKC. You also got to worry about Houston, and you also got to worry about Denver. So I think you have to have conversations about moving players and so forth. All right, let's see. See, who are you talking about that's out there for Rui? I'm not even talking about an individual player. I'm talking about how if you go back and look at all the trade conversations that we've had since the summer, Rui's name has been one of the names, the main names that have been brought up. And what I'm saying now, as this season has progressed, I don't think they have the ability now to say, well, let's get rid of Rui and bring in whatever player. I think they need whatever player you're talking about plus Rui. So however you can get creative with going out there and trying to make moves, I think Rui's just too important of a piece right now for the Lakers, and a consistent piece that I just don't think that you can have him as part of a move. All right. I wish Rui was more physical. I'm not definitely not complaining about that, or I'm definitely not disagreeing with that. I wish he was more physical as well. Okay, let's keep things moving here. We got a number of other topics that I want to get into, and you guys can feel free to chime in on the Rui stuff, and I'll try to look at some of your comments as we continue to go. But the Rui conversation, I think, is an interesting one. I really do. I think Rui conversation is an interesting one. And maybe the more this season progresses, the less the Lakers think that, Rui would be part of any deal. He's been a good asset for the Lakers. You got to give this man credit. He really has. He's been a nice player for the Lake Show. All right. Got to give a shout out here. Brad Wallace and the Wallace firm. WallaceWins.com/Sliwa. WallaceWins.com/Sliwa. If you go to the website, get an absolutely free consultation. Get connected with one of their professionals there. I know Brad Wallace will personally try to help anybody that's a listener on here in regards to a serious injury or wrongful death case. If you are a family member, has been involved, maybe a friend has been involved in any type of situation, start with WallaceWins.com/Sliwa. WallaceWins.com/Sliwa. Go to Brad Wallace and the Wallace firm. Let them just kind of guide you. A lot of times you're in a situation or predicament, or you're involved in an industry where you know nothing. Go to the professionals. I find myself all the time. It's like, all right, I got to deal with this, or I got to deal with it. Yeah, I don't know what the hell to do. Just leave it to the professionals. No different in this scenario. No different in this case. WallaceWins.com/Sliwa. WallaceWins.com/Sliwa. So shout out to Brad Wallace and the Wallace firm for being partners here. Okay, let's keep moving here. I saw this yesterday, and hopefully LeBron is back tonight, and we don't have to continue to have too many more of these conversations. But this obviously has been part of the story for the Lakers so far this year. Do you know the Lakers 15-4 overall are 11-4 without LeBron this year? So LeBron didn't obviously play last night. What a luxury for the Lakers that how they're kind of have the ability to use LeBron so far this season. So why did LeBron not play last night? Why did LeBron, obviously, if you look at what's gone on so far this season with LeBron, had the sciatica to start the season, has really kind of taken his time in getting back. And now they have the ability to tell LeBron, all right, let's make sure LeBron's sitting on the first game of a back-to-back or the second game of a back-to-back. So last night they didn't have to play him against the Pelicans. Obviously tonight they want him there against the Phoenix Suns. What a luxury. Here's a quote from Redick. We're going to build him up, hopefully to be able to play in back-to-backs. That's the goal. Every back-to-back is a case-by-case. That's just the reality of the NBA right now. But we want him to be able to play in back-to-back. So does he. So we're going to work towards that. Whatever they want to say, they can say. That's fine. But LeBron so far, 4 games this season, Lakers are 4-0. He's averaged 16.5 points, 8 assists, and 5 rebounds in the games that he's played. What a luxury. Here's why it's a luxury right now for a couple of reasons with LeBron. There's never been a stage in his career where he can kind of pick and choose when he plays. He can pick and choose when to be out on the floor. Not that LeBron doesn't want to be out on the floor, but I'm sure he's being very, very strategic with his predicament, with his situation, with his year 23 in the NBA, the amount of games that he's played, and thinking about the big picture. It's an absolute luxury for the Lakers right now that they literally get to kind of be very strategic with LeBron. And it's an absolute luxury to LeBron to not have to feel like, well, I got to be there every single night or my team is just going to tank. They're going to collapse. That's not the case with the Lakers. And we obviously know part of the reasons why. The main reason why is Luka Doncic is on the floor. Another reason why is Austin Reeves is on the floor. Ayton's got off to a good start. They had something happen on Friday night, and this is with LeBron playing, which was so random. And we definitely, I'm not accustomed to seeing this in the 8 years that LeBron has been a Laker. But tell me when you've seen this. On Friday night, the Lakers put up 129 points. Luka had more points than LeBron. AR had more points than LeBron. Ayton had more points than LeBron. Rui had more points than LeBron. LeBron was the 5th leading scorer for the Lakers. They beat Dallas with Anthony Davis and Cooper Flagg and some other talent that's on that team. They beat Anthony Davis and the Dallas Mavericks, and they scored 129 points. I mean, I don't have to, this doesn't have to be a long topic about LeBron, but I actually genuinely believe this is the first time in this man's career that he knows if he doesn't play a game or a handful of games, the team ain't going to crater. And this is all you're asking for from LeBron this year. Be the best version of yourself when it matters most, and know that you got a lot of help around you. Now, if they start playing quality teams, of course you want LeBron there. If you're playing OKC or Houston or Denver, I want to see LeBron in the game, not out of the game. But just a complete luxury for the Lakers. So LeBron doesn't play last night. Expect him to go tonight. And we'll see if down the road he starts playing some of these back-to-backs. But just a really nice luxury for the Lakers, 11-4 without LeBron so far this season. All right, let's take a look at some of the comments, and then I got a topic around Anthony Davis that I want to spend some time on. Let's see. We beat the Wolves at full strength. We did. Sure. Also beat the Spurs. Remember that one. I think the games I'm most interested in seeing the Lakers play is OKC, Denver, and Houston. Because I do think that's if you said who are the top 4 teams in the Western Conference, it's those 3 teams and the Lakers. Now, maybe San Antonio, if you want to put them in there once Wemby comes back, but they've been playing good even without, Wemby. All right, let me read a couple more of these. If James was about winning championships, he'd taken less money like Tom Brady. All right. Sometimes people with their energy, it goes in directions that don't always make sense to me. Don't forget, LeBron was just opting into his contract. Now, by the way, the LeBron piece of this, at this year, he's going to make his 52 and change. We'll see what happens next year, but I don't think he's making 50 and change next year for the Lakers. Let's put it that way. The narrative around Bron in the media is crazy. Thinking he cares about individual accolades. He's all about winning chips. At this point, it's all he cares about. Why? I think he does care about individual accolades. I definitely think he does. And I think he wants a lot of those records. And I do think he's a prideful person. He gets stats, not chasing them. He gets stats because that's his style of basketball. I do think he wants to be considered the greatest player to ever play the game. And part of his resume that he's going to have that a lot of these other players won't have, he's going to have the resume of most points all time, most games played, most seasons ever played. That is going to be part of his resume, and it should be. But naturally, yes, I do think LeBron is about winning championships, about competing for championships. But I think both of those can go together. I think they could both go together. Now, would he rather have 6 championships than some of his other individual accolades? Sure, I think he would. But that's not something that, obviously you can control every single season. Luka's arguably the best player in the league. Watching Luka so far this year, there are times, yesterday he had 20 points, I think 6 rebounds and 4 assists at the end of the first quarter. End of the first quarter, 26-4. He probably could have put up a lot more. Didn't end up doing it. And I think a lot of that just had to do with didn't need to, and I think Luka was all, or I think JJ was also being a little strategic with how he was using these guys. You know who else is balling out is AR is balling out too. The two of those guys together. All right, let's get another one here. I disagree with you, C, and I think he's given up being the GOAT. That's for talk radio to argue about endlessly and pointlessly. I mean, listen, whether he's given that up on that or not, he is just stacking his resume as much as he possibly can. And you're right, that is for podcast conversations or radio conversations. Sure, I get it. But at the end of the day, he's going to go down. I've always said this about people that talk about the greatest of all time. A lot of it's also going to do with eras. You know, what era? I can't truly appreciate Wilt Chamberlain or Kareem Abdul-Jabbar as somebody else that was in that era, or Bill Russell, who got a chance to watch them. Somebody that didn't watch Jordan growing up or Magic growing up can't truly appreciate that. So it just all kind of depends. It all kind of depends. Okay, let's keep moving on here. I didn't even get into AD yet. Got to get into Anthony Davis here real quick. All right, I got a question for everybody here. Felt like I was having a conversation on Friday after the Lakers game where I'm like, you know what? No, this needs more of an in-depth conversation. So Friday night, you know, obviously I haven't done one of my regular shows other than the post-game shows. I haven't done one of these shows since I think it was last Wednesday. But Friday, Lakers faced the Dallas Mavericks. I got a question for a lot of these Laker fans out here. By the way, AD got introduced, got a really nice ovation, and a lot of people were giving AD love. And there's really no reason not to give AD love. Plus, Anthony Davis left on terms where the Lakers got Luka Doncic, so that makes Laker fans love AD even more. Before AD became a Laker, or actually, no. Lakers trade for Anthony Davis, and they give up all these young players, draft swaps, everything else. Anthony Davis comes to the Lakers. The moment AD became a Laker, I want you guys to go back and think what your expectations were when Anthony Davis became a Laker to the moment he got traded as a Laker. Did Anthony Davis live up to your expectations as a Los Angeles Laker? Okay. So take everything that he did totality. And I'm curious to know if people out there say, oh, AD definitely lived up to the expectations. He was exactly what I thought. Or if people are going to say he surpassed them because he won an NBA championship with the Lakers. Or they're going to say, no, I had expectations for Anthony Davis and he didn't meet those expectations. Tell you guys where I'm at. I'll tell you guys what my expectations were before AD became a Laker. Or when he became a Laker and then by the time he left. My expectations for Anthony Davis, I really genuinely thought this. I thought he was, you know, the present and the future. I thought he was going to be the best team or the best player on the Lakers. Probably from, I mean, not necessarily the moment he got here. I mean, obviously LeBron just kept being the best player. But I definitely thought there was going to come a time where the era of Anthony Davis on the Lakers without LeBron James would come, and AD would be one of the top 5 players in the league and would eventually carry the Lakers franchise with, you know, obviously with a supporting cast and another star. But I thought the keys were going to be handed from LeBron to Anthony Davis. Definitely thought the Lakers would win a championship with Anthony Davis, minimum. I did. When you have LeBron and Anthony Davis, I mean, you obviously got an opportunity to win it all. I thought overall for Anthony Davis, I thought he was a really, really good player. And I thought he's going to be a major chapter of a Lakers championship run, which he was. But I don't think he met my expectations. I think my expectations were so high for Anthony Davis that other than him competing for multiple championships, grabbing the keys from LeBron James and saying, this is my team, this is my era. And other than him leading the Lakers after LeBron retires, those were my expectations. I mean, whether that's fair or it's not, those were my genuine expectations for Anthony Davis. I genuinely thought That's what Anthony Davis was going to be for the Lakers. Now, when the dust settles, he was one of the best two-way players for the Lakers. He was obviously a dynamic player. He also had a lot of injuries and wasn't always on the floor for the Lakers. He was a major piece, as important as LeBron in winning that NBA championship in 2020. But I'm trying to isolate what my expectations were versus what actually happened. And I don't want anybody to interpret this as me hating on Anthony Davis. I'm not hating on AD. But I did have higher expectations for Anthony Davis when he became a Laker. And this is probably the last time we're going to talk about Anthony Davis. This is it. Because the trade happened. They got Luka Doncic. AD, like I said, got a chance in the game on Friday to get introduced in the starting lineup. The crowd gave him his love and gave him his flowers. And the chapter has been over for Anthony Davis. But if I'd have told you when they traded for AD back in 2020 that he didn't end up grabbing the keys to the franchise and he didn't actually outlast LeBron on this roster. LeBron got here before Anthony Davis, and LeBron is still here after Anthony Davis left. And we know why, obviously, because the Lakers had a chance at Luka Doncic. But I did have higher expectations for AD. I did. That's just personally me. When Anthony Davis became a Laker, the hope was he would take care of the franchise, that he would compete for championships year in and year out, that even when LeBron's gone, the Lakers would still, the keys would be in the hands of Anthony Davis. That wasn't the case. He was still wildly good for the Lakers. He was still one of the best two-way players for the Lakers. He was still an NBA champion for the Lakers. But what he wasn't a top 2, top 3 player in the league. And he also wasn't a player that said, give me the damn keys. This is my franchise. That never happened with Anthony Davis as well. So I'm curious to get your guys' thoughts and your opinion. I thought this would be a good topic that we can have. And clearly I got my reasoning of how I felt. For me, he was really, really good, but did not meet my expectations. That's how high up I had Anthony Davis before he became a Laker. All right, let's see what we got here. Love AD. Can't believe how fast time flies. He was there from 2019 to 2025. Helped us win a chip, but couldn't agree with you more, Slee. He just couldn't be the number one guy in the team. And maybe that's where, my expectations are off, but I think most people thought he's going to be your number one. Most people thought, yeah, this is going to be his team. Like LeBron helped orchestrate getting here, and then LeBron helped Anthony Davis get here. And then eventually it was like, LeBron's going to leave the franchise in great hands with AD. Just never happened. It just never happened. And I think the more time, went on, the more you're like, let's put it this way. Let's say Nico Harrison doesn't trade Luka to the Lakers. What are the Lakers? You got AD in and out of the lineup. You got LeBron at, churning 41. Like, I genuinely don't know what this Lakers team would have been. Let me get some more in here. AD injuries robbed of that chance to dominate. You could be right. But that's part of your story too. The fact that LeBron has been available and hasn't had these major injuries is part of his story. So just like Zion Williams' story is he can't stay healthy. There's other players out there that part of their story is their health, whether in a good way or a bad way. That's part of your story as well. I was frustrated when AD didn't want to play center. Yeah, I kind of was too, but I understood why. It's hard to be a number one when you're always hurt and playing with the GOAT at the peak of his powers. But that's the thing is LeBron wasn't at the peak of his powers. You can't be at the peak of your powers at age 37, 38, 39, 40. That's not the peak of your powers. The peak of your powers are 28 to 32. And maybe in today's NBA, because it goes longer, 28 to 35. AD's supposed to be at the peak of his powers, not LeBron. That just shows how great LeBron was. All right, let's get some more in here. I agree, Slee, but the management didn't or couldn't put a complete team around AD and LeBron. Personally, if I was AD, I would ask for a trade from Dallas. Not hating on AD, he could have gone harder in LA. Okay. I got to be honest with you. I'm actually a little surprised that people agree with me on this because the vibe I was getting on Friday night, and again, I didn't get a chance to expand on it. And I'm like, no. This is a topic in itself. We could just do it on the show. The vibe I was getting on Friday night was, oh, Al, you're just hating on AD. Nobody's hating on AD. I mean, if you really, really have expectations for a player, you're going to look at one of the best two-way players in the league who ended up winning a championship for the Lakers, and you're saying to yourself, yeah, I expected more. That's a compliment to Anthony Davis. That's not hating on AD. Let's get some more in here. I wish AD well. Hope for his sake to get out of Dallas. AD was injured a lot, just like Wade in Miami. AD should have defined the era. That, my friends, is a phenomenal comment right there. This is the best way that I can describe it. When AD came to the Lakers, I thought what Giannis is today to the Bucks was going to be what Anthony Davis was going to be for the Lakers. Or what Jokic is to the Denver Nuggets, I thought AD was going to be with the Lakers. That's the best way to describe it right there. Where you thought you were getting a top 3, top 5 player in the league, and every single year they're in it in the Western Conference because of this individual player. And it wasn't with AD. It was kind of up and down with AD. Injuries, healthy, and if I told you Giannis leaves Milwaukee, Giannis will have left Milwaukee as a finals MVP, the best player on that franchise. Jokic leaves Denver. It's like their book is already written. With AD, listen, again, AD was unbelievable with the Lakers. But God, that's such a good comment where you thought AD was going to be a Giannis to the Bucks. Yeah, this guy's going to be on the franchise for the next 10 years, and he's going to be competing for a championship multiple times. And listen, I know for Giannis, it's not like he's winning it every year, but here's what you're not saying about Giannis. You're not saying that he's out of the top 5 in the NBA. That's a really good comment. That's a really good comp, too. Okay, let me look at a couple more of these here. Both Bron and AD never met our expectations. I don't know if I agree with that. I think LeBron met my expectations. I didn't think LeBron would still be playing. I didn't think LeBron would be playing 8 years for the Lakers. I thought he'd play 4 or 5 years. LeBron was still the best player on the Lakers up until before Luka got here. LeBron won a championship with the Lakers, helped get Anthony Davis over here. I don't know. I think Bron lifted his weight. I really do. Maybe you could say one more championship run. I don't know. I think Bron lifted his weight. Took the franchise, when he came to the Lakers, we all know where the Lakers were before he got here. It's an interesting comment. But let's just say this. Bron met my expectations much more than Anthony Davis did. Bron's still playing. Last year, he was still second team All-NBA. I mean, still making it happen. I had high expectations for LeBron, but I know he was also coming here when the franchise was in disarray. Had it made the playoffs, would they go 5-6 years without making the playoffs? It's a very interesting take. But I think Bron definitely met my expectations more than Anthony Davis did. You were getting Bron at the end of his career. You were getting AD in his prime. Bron was here before AD. Bron's here after Anthony Davis. It's an interesting conversation. I'll tell you that. Hope you're not expecting much now. OKC said nice you control the West for years with their assets. Yeah, OKC a problem. And somebody getting angry at me for giving OKC credit for starting the season out 20-1. I mean, the love of God, we can't be honest around here. What's going on here? All right, let's see some more of these comments. By the way, that's some good conversations. That's the Bron one. The Bron one kind of threw me off a little bit. All right, let's get some more in here. Is the best. You know what my favorite is? Is when you try to give LeBron a compliment, and then there's one or two people that are, um, you're glazing him, man. You're glazing him. Okay, all right. No, we won't give LeBron any credit for still playing at age 40, about to be 41. You're right. No, you're right. You're glazing him. That's, by the way, the voice I'm making is the voice that I feel like I hear on the other side of the computer of anybody who's typing it. Braun exceeded my expectations. By the way, that's a conversation in its own if Braun has met your expectations. Good morning, Slee. Good morning, Laker fam. Sorry I'm late. We'll start over. I'm down to start over. AD wasted it. Look, this to me is more it kind of tells me I think Bron did what he needed to do. I think Bron needed Anthony Davis to be around a little bit more and to carry his weight a little bit more to add to whatever that Laker resume was going to be between those two players. Good stuff here. Really, really good stuff here. Let's see what we got. You're glazing him, bro. Like what? You can't believe you're saying all this nice stuff about LeBron. Sucks. Glazing him, bruh. All right. Let's keep going here. I love you all. Okay. I don't care. You guys can have whatever comment on here. You can hate me. I still love you all. Which by the way, I don't feel like there's a lot of hate on this channel at all. Okay, good stuff right there. Good stuff on the AD conversation. You guys might have just created a whole new LeBron topic for me. Maybe I'll do that later in the week. Okay, great stuff right there. I got through most of the topics I want to get into. I do want to hit on, I do have some NBA news that I want to hit on, and then we'll do a weekend recap, and then we'll get the hell out of here. How long do we go today? How long? Well, we'll just go. Let's go at least to 110 today. By the way, if you're listening to this a little bit later recorded, thank you for watching the show. We get, for whatever we get live, we get so many people that come out later on and view the channel and view the shows and view the episodes. So I appreciate you. Whether you're watching it live or you're watching it recorded, thank you for doing so. If you're now grabbing the channel and the audio portion of this on the iHeartRadio podcast, shout out to all of you guys. Yes, it's now available on the iHeartRadio podcast. It's available on Spotify. It's available on Apple. So it's available on all the platforms. So however you're getting us, thank you. Obviously, I do pay more attention to just the video portion because this is a show that's built off of YouTube. So something to keep in mind there. Okay, let's look at a couple NBA topics here. NBA news out here. Latest in the standings. I just got a couple things I want to throw out to everybody. Pistons still atop 16-4 in the East. The Western Conference, the Oklahoma City Thunder 20-1. The Lakers number 2 at 15-4. Guys, look how bad some of the terrible teams are in the NBA. Washington and Brooklyn have a total of 5 wins and 32 losses. Indiana's 4-16. The Western Conference, I mentioned this to you guys. Dallas 6-15. Clippers 5-15. Sacramento 5-16. We can see a lot of teams selling off. I've told you guys that before. A lot of these teams need to start selling off. We got a chance to see Cooper Flagg on Friday night. By the way, I thought Cooper Flagg was good. He had a really nice game. I thought Cooper Flagg, kind of a nice all-round game for Cooper Flagg. It was fun watching him play for the Dallas Mavericks and get a chance to see the Lakers and the Mavs. Obviously a home game for the Lakers. The next night, this is what Cooper Flagg did on Saturday in LA in Inglewood, taking on the Clippers. How about Cooper Flagg's line here? Drops 35 points. I'm trying to see here. LeBron James is the only other 18-year-old to score 35 points in an NBA game, having done so twice as a rookie for the Cleveland Cavaliers in December 2023. Cooper Flagg becomes the youngest player in the history of the NBA to drop 35. He did it against the Clippers on Saturday night. What a phenomenal feat for him. What a just cool to see him play, see him ball out. Klay Thompson said after the game, Cooper's upside is limitless. He has every tool to be great. Sometimes I can't believe he should be a freshman in college. So Cooper Flagg obviously goes off, does it against the Clippers. I know I keep saying against the Clippers, but I don't know. Just that Clippers thing just keeps sticking out to me how bad they've been so far this year. But Cooper Flagg balls out. So that was one of the storylines coming from the weekend. You know, this one kind of stuck out to me as well. Yesterday, the Boston Celtics beat the Cleveland Cavaliers. Peyton Pritchard scored 42 points. Jaylen Brown got a triple-double as the Celtics beat the Cavs 117-115. You know why I'm bringing this up? Man, good franchises just find ways to win. And I'm not telling you the Boston Celtics are going to make a lot of noise this year, but they're hanging around. They're 11-9 on the season. They've won 7 of their last 10 games. They don't have Jason Tatum. They traded a couple of key players in the offseason, Drew Holiday, Kristaps Porzingis, and they're just hanging around. I mean, they're a half a game difference of the Cleveland Cavaliers, and go look at the talent that the Cavs have and how healthy they are. Lakers got Boston coming up on this trip. It's going to be a tough game. It's going to be a fun game. That's what you want. You want some of this competition. You go Toronto and Boston on Thursday and Friday. So the Celtics playing some good ball. You got to give them credit. Most valuable franchise in the NBA. Forbes came out with this list yesterday. Who do you guys think is number one? Who do you think is number one? I'm going to let people respond to this. What's the most valuable franchise in the NBA right now? What do you guys have? Lakers, okay. All right. Lakers just sold for $10 billion. Lakers. Golden State Warriors, the number one valued franchise in the NBA. Now, there's a reason for that. Let me just give you the top 5 franchises in the NBA. The Warriors are valued at so stupid, $11 billion. That's the Warriors. The Lakers are valued at number 2 at $10 billion. The Knicks are valued at $9.75 billion. The Clippers valued now at $7.5 billion. They're number 4. And the Boston Celtics valued at number 5 with $6.7 billion. I don't know how the Clippers are on this list. Well, I do know how the Clippers are on this list. They own their own arena. Why are the Lakers number 2? Is because they don't own their arena. You know how impressive it is to be valued at $10 billion and the real estate that you're sitting on that you don't even own? So the Golden State Warriors in San Francisco, obviously as big of a market as it gets, and they own their own arena. So that's why. That is why they're sitting where they're sitting. And again, it's just the fact that they own their arena. That really doesn't have anything to do with anything else. Okay, I got the weekend recap here. Let's do that here real quick. Of course, weekend recap is presented by the Wallace firm. Shout out to them, wallacewins.com/Sliwa. NFL scores around the NFL. I'm not going to go through every game or anything like that, but there were a couple of good games over these last couple of days. Obviously, some games over on Thanksgiving as well. Packers beat the Lions 31-24. Chiefs are 6-6. They lose to the Cowboys 31. What's going on with the Chiefs? Bears and the Eagles, a badass game. How about the Bears have the best record in the NFC now? There was somebody on here, I forget who it was, that said I wasn't giving enough love to the Bears. All the love in the world to the Bears. Niners are 9-4. You got the Texans Texans beat the Colts. The Colts are 8-4 now on the season. Got the dog jumping in here. Rams, shocking loss yesterday to the Panthers. Matthew Stafford throws 2 picks and gets the final fumble to end the game. The Panthers win 31-28. Seahawks are now 9-3 on the season. Bills are 8-4 on the season. They win 26-27. Broncos hold on to beat the Commanders last night. They're now 10-2 on the year. So a lot of good NFL games. Fun to watch all those NFL games over the weekend. Let's look real quick. NCAA football. This is going to be the last thing that I got. Top 5 teams in the Associated Press. Ohio State, Indiana, Georgia, Oregon, and Texas Tech. Ole Miss, who's going to have to coach or is going to have to play their playoff game. They're sitting at number 6 without Lane Kiffin because Lane Kiffin is leaving. He's going to LSU, going to get $12 million a year plus bonuses. I really wish Lane Kiffin stayed at Ole Miss. That's cool what he built over there. But he's going to LSU. All these programs end up getting the big time, obviously the big time teams. MLS championship game is set. Vancouver at Inter Miami. SCFC, man. They got handled on Saturday night. 6 o'clock game. Had everything all set up. Had dinner. Was ready to go. Had a drink that I made. Thinking, is SDFC getting to the MLS Cup in their first year? They got dominated. Vancouver is going to take on Inter Miami. So they're going to take on Messi there. All right, let me read a couple of comments here, and then we're going to call it a day. I do appreciate everybody hanging out here for, what are we, $1.10? We're at $1.11. Matthew Stafford got knocked out on that pick 6. Stafford lost that game to the Rams. He's no MVP. Stafford is a stud. I actually think in a weird way that loss is going to help them. Let me get a couple more comments here. It's funny how New York Knicks say, even though they don't win much championships at all, but their value is still sky high. New York market, so that has a lot to do with it as well. All right, my people, I think we're done. Dub Airs. Thank you for being here. Help us get to 34,000 subscribers. Please subscribe to the channel. We'd greatly appreciate that. Thank you very much for being a part of the show, and thank you very much for hanging out for the entirety of the show. Lakers got a game coming up tonight. They take on the Phoenix Suns. Right after the game, I'll be doing the post-game show. Hope to see you guys tonight. Thank you very much for being a part of the show. Hope you guys have a great rest of your day.